Hello YouTube, welcome back. Today I'll be talking about using PowerPoint and Zoom for virtual teaching and learning. I'll divide the session into two parts. Part 1, we'll look at PowerPoint, its functions, and building an effective presentation. Part 2 will be about Zoom and its functions. Let's get started. Yes, that was all PowerPoint. So you will be learning how to do some of those functions today. But before we jump into the PowerPoint, I want to talk about some basic tools needed for virtual teaching and learning. First, it is a very good idea to use an Ethernet cord. An Ethernet cord goes directly from your computer or your laptop to the back of your modem. And this is able to give you a greater connection and a stronger connection. Next, having a handheld mouse is very effective. You'll be doing a lot of manipulation with PowerPoint and Zoom, and it's good to have a handheld mouse. It does not have to be cordless. Just a handheld mouse will be beneficial to you. A bottle of water or some beverage that you can use to wet your throat. When you're teaching online, you tend to do a lot of talking and your mouth might get dry. So it's good to have some water nearby. It's also good to have lip balm nearby for the same reason. Your lips might become chapped, and so you want to be there in the session with your students. You don't want to be looking for things like that. You want to have it right on hand. Next, you need great lighting. Great lighting. It's good to have the lighting above your area and in front of your area, and that gives a good background lighting for you. And last but not least, a good night's sleep. So sitting in front of the computer tends to, at least for me, make me drowsy when I have not gotten a good night's sleep the night before. And it just has an effect. So please get a good night's sleep, and that way your lessons can go more smoothly. All right. So we're going to talk about opening the application of PowerPoint, starting a new presentation, selecting a theme design, setting up the title slide, setting up the first content slide, adding animations, inserting a video, using the Zoom platform, and recording your PowerPoint as a video. And if time permits, we'll look at some extras. So first we'll talk about opening the application, then starting a new presentation, and selecting a theme design. So let's go to that section now. So from your desktop, you can type in PowerPoint. As you can see, I wouldn't necessarily have to do that on mine because I've already used the application several times. But if you haven't, you can type in PowerPoint and click enter on your keyboard, and it will open up until this window. So you want to start a new presentation, left click with your mouse on new. And from there, you will see several theme designs to choose from. Okay? If you find one that you like, you simply click on it with your left mouse and select that. But what if you do not see one that you like? You can type in here to search for extra themes online. So let's say, for example, I want to look up something for science. Type in science and click enter. And I like this design, so I left click and then create. Okay. Now this particular design has pre-populated pictures and graphs, etc. You can choose to use all of that, or you can choose to modify it. You can also choose, if you're giving the options over here, these are design ideas. So if you don't like the grayed out design and you want to see color, you can just click on that and so forth. And say, for example, if the name of your class is Biology 1, you can click on the text that's there, select it by dragging from left to right, and then type the name of your class. Okay? Now, let's say, for example, you did not want this type of design. You wanted just a plain design, maybe with some color in it. You can build your own title slide. So let's go back to File. This is another way to open a new presentation. Go to File, click New again. And as you can see, there are other designs that you can choose from. So let's click on this one, Dividend. So as you can see, there are other color variations to the design. You can choose the original, you can choose another one. So let's choose this one, for example, and create. So as you can see, this is just a plain design with a color scheme. But we're going to go back to my PowerPoint so I can show you how to add the text to your title slides. Now let's talk about setting up the title slide. As you can see, the title slide comes with a template whereby you can simply click and add your title. So let's do that. Forming good study habits. Okay, likewise, you can add a subtitle. Will it make a difference? Okay, so there's a couple of things I don't like so far with this. First, my title is on 2 lines. And secondly, my subtitle is too small. You want to make sure that your text font size is at least a 24 so that your audience can see it well. But we're going to come back to this slide later. Let's look at inserting text just in case you do not want to use the default text boxes, which is what I do most of the time. I like to create my own title slides, my own design. So inserting text. If you would look at the top of your PowerPoint application, this is called your ribbon. Look to the left of your ribbon and find the word insert. Once you click on that, your ribbon will change and it will look something like this depending on the version you have. Look for the capital A. That's your text box icon, and you have the word text box underneath it. Okay? Once you click that, you will be able to move back to your slide and insert the text. I also want to show you a shortcut. This shortcut should be on your home screen at all times. There's a capital A right here, and it will serve the same purpose. So once you click your text icon, move your pointer back to your slide. As you move it, it will look like a thin upside down lowercase t. You then need to hold down your left mouse. It will turn into a plus sign, and you will drag it to the left or to the right and form your text box. And it will look like this. At that point, you may begin typing your text. Before I insert my own text boxes, I need to get rid of these. So I click inside, and then I hover onto the frame, and when it turns to those 4 arrows, I left click. Now I can press the delete key on my keyboard and delete it. I'll do the same for this one. Okay, now let's go through those steps. Click insert, find my text box icon, left click, move it to my slide. It turns into the upside down lowercase t. Hold down the left mouse, drag to the right, stop, type in my title. This, of course, is not how I want it to look. So I'm going to come up here and select my text. I'm going to change the size to 54. Now, if you lose this particular pop-up box, you can come up here and do the same thing. We're going to make it bold. We're going to change the color to white. Okay. Now it's still on 2 lines, so I'm going to come to my resize handle in the middle and hold down my left mouse here and drag it to the right. Okay, and release. Now it is not as centered as I would like. So what am I going to do now? Hover over the frame. When it turns to the 4 arrows, I'm going to hold down my left mouse, click, hold it down, and now I can move the box to wherever position I want it to be. So if I'm satisfied with this position, and then release. Now I'm going to put in my subtitle. So this time I'm going to the shortcut. Click on the icon, move down to the slide, hold down, drag to the right, release. I'm going to do all caps. Will it make difference? Okay. Let's go through the same process of manipulating the text. This time maybe a 40, so it'll be smaller than the title. Bold. And to try to mimic the original color. The right. Hover over the line, hold down left mouse. Okay. And about there. And release. Now I have the beginning of my title slide. Remember this? Well, let's fix it. We're clicking on the text, selecting bold, and we need to stretch it so that it will be on 1 line. So let's grab the resize handle, hold down the left mouse, move to the right. Now, I want it at the top of the slide, so I'm going to hover over the frame, hold down the left mouse, and move upward. Release it when I get to the place that's satisfactory. Okay, now let's do the same for the subtitle. Select bold. Let's make it a 40. Now, what I did not talk about on the previous slide is how to center the text within the text box. So if you would look at your ribbon in the paragraph section, these are your different alignments. Simply click on the center alignment and the text moves to the center. If it's still not where you need it, simply hold down your left mouse on the frame and move it to your position and release. Now, this is a perfect setup. Now we just need to add images to make our title slide more attractive. So let's get to it. We want to use royalty-free images. Why royalty-free? So that we will not infringe upon anyone's copyrighted material. So my first go-to is pixabay.com. At Pixabay, all of the images are completely free. Another site similar to that is Unsplash at unsplash.com. These are also completely free. So if I cannot find what I need at these two sites, then I might lean on Google and Bing. However, with Google and Bing, you must use a filter to select the type of license you are willing to use. So let's find some images. Okay, here we are. We are at Pixabay. Now, I have typed in the word study in my search bar, and you cannot see that because I am intentionally not showing the very top of the page. The very top of the page has a list of images that are not free. They're advertisement for iStock. And so you can click on them. You can purchase them if you like. But since they are not free, I don't want to show them on this video. So I'm going to scroll down and find a picture that goes with forming good study habits. And there we go. So I like this one. So I simply hold my pointer here and right click. And then I scroll down to copy image and left click. Now I go back to my presentation and I right click and left click on the first paste option. Now, as you can see, there is a pane that popped up on the right hand side. Depending on your version of Microsoft or if you have a subscription, you may or may not see this happen. If you do, this is a good way to help organize your text and your pictures on your slide. I happen to like to make my own, so I'm going to close this now. Okay, so I'm going to center this, and I like the location, but I do not like that it's just a plain block. So I'm going to double click with my left mouse, and when I do that, my picture styles come into my ribbon. So if I click my drop down, I can see various picture styles, and I simply hover my mouse on my pointer over the style, and I can see what it would look like. So I like this one. I'm going to left click, and now I have my picture. So this goes with forming good study habits. I would also like a picture to go with, will it make a difference? Okay, so in other words, will I become successful, or will students become successful if they form good study habits? So let's go and grab another picture. So we are on Bing Images, and as you can see, I have used the filter. This is a filter, and then I used it to drop down to select free to modify, share, and use commercially. This will be the safest for this particular presentation, especially since I am putting it in a video. So I'm going to copy and paste as I did earlier. And right click, click on paste, and here's my image. Okay, let's move it to the left. Okay, I'd like it a little larger, so in order to resize an image and keep its shape, you take hold of the resize handle on one of the four corners and just drag it to the right, and it'll enlarge and keep its shape. Okay, so that's kind of plain. Let me tilt it a little bit. You can grab this handle and turn your image. Okay, now let's find a picture style. With this one. Okay, so now you know how to insert your images. Are you having fun yet? I hope so. Now it's time to add a transition to your title slide. Looking at the ribbon, you need to click on the word transitions. After you do so, you will see a variation of transitions to choose from. You can also see more by clicking this drop-down button. Once you decide on a transition, for example, the transition called cover, you can also choose to add different effects to that particular transition. Okay. Beyond that, you can also add a sound to your slide, and you can do this with any slide, not just a title slide. Okay. Most presentations, however, have one transition throughout. Sometimes you might want to change it midway or what have you for an effect. But other than that, if you like the transition that you have chosen, click on Apply to All, and every slide will transition in the same way. So let's try it out. Okay. So here's our ribbon. We're going to click on Transition. Let's click on Cover. Okay. So once you click on it, it will show you what it will look like. Here's Shape. You may have seen this throughout the presentation. Random bars. So let's go back to Cover. Now, I might not like that cover, so I'm going to go to Effect Options and find some different ones. So there's a from top right. Let's try that. Okay. So you can play around with it and decide on what you like. Now, if I want a sound effect, I can click Sound. And your PowerPoint application should have some sound effects that are already embedded. And you can also add sound effects. That's another lesson. But let's look at one drum roll, for example. Okay, so let's go into presentation mode so we can see how it works. Okay. Now, I don't want drum roll for this presentation because it's not appropriate, I don't think. So I'm going to go back to no sound. And if I want to apply to all of my slides, then I click Apply to All. Okay. So let's go back. Let's set up the first content slide. If you look in the ribbon, you will find the icon for a new slide. If you click directly on the icon, it will give you the first choice of the templates. If you click on the drop down, you will see many more templates to choose from. So I've already pre-populated some text for our first slide. We know how to add text. We know how to add images. Now let's add bullets. So here's my text. Okay. So to add bullets, it's very simple. First, we're going to go back to home. Anytime you're lost or need to start a new task, always go back to home. There's no place like home. So we're going to select all of the text, and then we're going to go to the paragraph section of our ribbon, and all the way here to the left are my bullets. So if I drop down, I can choose which bullet I want. So I'm going to choose this one. Okay. I would also like it spaced out. So if I go all the way down to the right, there's my line spacing. I click that, and let's do double spacing works. So I'll click double spacing. Okay. Let's add animations. Yes, this is what you have been waiting for. As you can see, I have minimized my text to the left so that I can show you a list of how to insert animations on the right. So I'm going to go to the slide. Make sure that you are on animations, and then you're going to select your text. Now on my bullets, I would like one to come in at a time. So in order to do that, I'm going to select one at a time and then select the animation I choose. So I chose to float in. I'm going to select each bullet and do the same. You may choose to bring in your bullets differently, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, let me show you many more that you can choose from. So this is your drop down. If you go to more entrance effects, all of these are entrance animations. So just choose whichever ones you would like. Now I'm going to animate my images. Okay. So just as I selected my text, I select my image by clicking on my image. Now this particular image I chose to go with animation or bullet number 2. So it would be nice if it would come in at the same time. So I'm going to select how I want it animated, which is to also float in. As you can see, all of the animations are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order. If you look to the right, this is called the animation pane. This is the brain of the animations. You can tell your animations what to do, when to do it, how to do it, how fast to come in, if you want sound effects with the animations, etc. That is all controlled over here in the animation pane. So as you can see, number 4 is at the end. It's going in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. The little mouse tells you that it's going to come in on the click. I would like number 4, my picture here, to come in with animation number 2. So in order to do that, I'm going to hover on my animation pane section until I see the double arrow. I'm going to hold down with my left mouse and then drag this animation to go right underneath number 2. So that red line, that red horizontal line, is my animation. I'm going to release, and now it turned to number 3. But that's still not good enough because I want it to come in with number 2, not after number 2. So now I'm going to go to the drop down on that same animation, and I'm going to select Start with Previous. Now it should come in at the same time. I can preview that by coming over to Preview. And absolutely, it came in with it. So that is how you can get started with animations. Of course, there's a lot more to learn about animation, but I encourage you to play around with it, starting with something simple, such as what I just showed you. Finally, we are at our last step of creating an effective PowerPoint presentation. We're going to insert a YouTube video by following these 6 steps. So let's go to our next slide. Now we're going to begin by finding a video. So let's go to YouTube. Now this video was actually one of my own videos, and just to be on the safe side, for demonstration purposes. So the first thing we're going to do is to come to the URL. This is this section. If you click it 3 times, you should select the address. Copy it by clicking on your right mouse and then your left mouse with copy. You can also do a shortcut of Control-C. Going back to the PowerPoint, we're going to click on Insert, come down to Video, click on Online Video, and now we can paste our URL in this box. Click Insert. Wait a few seconds, and there's your video. You can resize that video box however you would like. Again, this is just a video. This is my own video, so I knew that there would not be any issues. Showing a video to a live audience should not be a problem. The only thing I would suggest is to be sure to give attribution. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day and a great lesson.